Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Jessie, the host for today's webinar. I am one of the MQ Trader team members. So before I start, can I do a mic test? Please type 1 in the chat box if you can hear me clearly. Thank you for your response. Remember to log in to your MQ Trader account so that you can have live interaction with us. Welcome all of you to our MQ Trader webinar on the topic of what are the companies investors must monitor. Here is a brief introduction of MQ Trader. MQ Trader stands for Malaysia Quantitative Trader Group. And we use quantitative method to do analysis and develop MQ Trader stock analysis tool. We bring what normally only available to large financial institutions to our MQ members and empower traders to make quicker decisions with greater confidence. And next, this is one of the key features of MQ Trader system, which is called MQ E-Trade. In this system, you can view a lot of information on each stock at a glance. Information includes live market quotes, our exclusive MQ trading signal, and up to 10 market depth. This info will facilitate your trading journey. Next, MQ Trader signals with live backtesting result is also another popular feature. You can search any stock to view the price charts in MQ Trader system, and you select any MQ Trader signal in the drop-down list here, which is in the red rectangle indicated here. Then you will see buy and sell signals instantly on the price chart. Then you can do a backtest to test the past signal accuracy by just clicking on any green buy signal. After that, you will see the backtest result instantly on a new tab. These features are free for all MQ members, and you can try all these features via the link here, which is at the bottom here. And then for non-MQ members, you can get free access to this system by opening a TA trading account with our advertiser. If you are interested, you can type 5 in the chat box or scan the QR code and submit your contact details. Our respective team will guide you on the next step later. Just want to highlight for today only, you can get extra 500 MQ points when you open a trading account with our advertiser. So Chinese New Year is around the corner. We are running our MQ CNY campaign on our social media to give out attractive gifts such as 1 month free trial for our MQ Pro package, our calendar, and red packets to 18 winners now. Besides, we are also giving out 10 ringgit worth of MQ points for the first 5 participants who PM us the CNY code. The code will be released on our story daily. So this campaign only lasts for a week till 22nd of January. Let's celebrate Chinese New Year with us. Simply scan the QR code here to find out more. I will stop here for a few seconds for you to scan. For MQ members that have a trading account with our selected advertiser, you can get a bonus of 300 MQ points as check-in rewards. The steps to get this reward is very simple. You screenshot any part of this webinar, find our quiz email inside your email inbox after the webinar ends, complete the quiz and upload your screenshot to get the 300 MQ points. Remember, you will need to register for the webinar in order to receive the email after the webinar ends. You can scan the QR code here to register for the webinar if you haven't registered for it. We are going to have a Q&A session after Max sharing. Right after the Q&A, we will have a mysterious gift session. We will be giving out gift that is worth up to 249 ringgit. So make sure you stay until the end to grab the chance to win the gift. Both the post-webinar quiz and mysterious gift question will be taken from the max sharing. So be ready for max sharing to get the correct answer for the quiz. Max Tan will be the speaker for today's webinar, and here is his profile. He is the lead speaker of Eventual Group and supported the growth of the group to become the champion in the best remisier in 2021. He has accumulated over 6 years of experience as a debt consultant. He holds multiple roles in Rakuten Trade and TS Securities. He also spoke in Sinchu SGX Academy, Bursa Young Investor Club, and many more places. Here is the key companies we'll be covering today. So without further ado, I would like to invite Max to share with us now. Let's welcome Max.
Thank you, Jesse, and good evening, everyone. Hope you guys are okay with the recent market performance. If you can hear me right and clear, can you type in a yes in the chat box? So we will kickstart the webinar very quickly. If you can hear me loud and clear, you can type in a yes. Okay, thank you, everyone. So today we will be talking about the 2024 IPO, especially for first half review. And what are the companies that investors must monitor, at least in my humble opinion, that these are a few very interesting companies. Some of them are interesting because natural business from themselves, and some of them are interesting because from the IPO itself, there could be opportunities spotted for already listed company, which is MKH, and we'll talk about it shortly. Okay, so thank you, Jesse, for introducing me. Just a bit about myself, just a rectification. I had prior experience in the debt consultation industry, but I also have industry in compliance, stockbroking, and I also have experience in private equity. So I've been invested in Bursa alone for close to 8 years. So hopefully whatever I share will be helpful to everyone who joined us today, right? So just a quick disclaimer, whatever we share today is just for information purposes only. So we do not encourage or we do not solicit any kind of buy-sell call. If you find the company interesting or you find not really of your taste, please consult a licensed individual to give you a licensed investment advice. Okay, so whatever we share here, hopefully it's helpful to you. But as and when you make any investment decision, please consult someone who is licensed, right? Okay, so for the benefit of those who are new to this webinar, I go through what are IPOs really, really quickly. Okay, I'm sure a lot of experts here, and you all know what is IPO, but bear with me for the benefit of those who are new to the market, right? So full name of IPO, very simple, initial public offering. Don't have to remember a name because you always hear IPO here and there on the newsletter, on your Hong Kong movie, everywhere, right? As the name suggests, the initial part, initial public offering, this is the first time ever a company shares is listed on an exchange. For example, if today, let's say your favorite milk tea company, Tea Life, if they are going for listing for the very first time, so probably, not probably, that will be called as an IPO, right? In 2024, we will be seeing a lot of very interesting IPOs coming up. We have EcoShop, we have Dynasty Mart, and we also have the Loop Holding, which is the one we mentioned just now. But again, and U Mobile has been delayed for quite some time. So again, it's very subjective to whether the market condition as well. But probably Loop Holding will be listing this year, it's very likely. And there's another interesting company that is not mentioned in our poster or whatever marketing material. But I think a lot of people will be interested, which will be Prolintas, which owns a concession of several highways. So basically, one car pass by is the revenue generated for the company. It's listed as a business trust. So in simpler term, it's like we're buying REITs. Very simple, very straightforward. So if we have time, most probably we would have, then we will go into Prolintas as well, right? And back to IPO, what are IPOs? So this is what the market defined as a primary market. Again, it's linked back to the first time. So it's a primary market, first fresh to the market, and secondary market is basically what you trade every day. Okay, so why companies? A lot of people they might ask why the company, if they are earning good profit, they want to go for listing, right? If I have a good company, might as well keep in my pocket, and it will be a cash cow for me perpetually, right? So there are cases that the company is performing quite well, but they are in need of extra funding to go for expansion or whatever reason, to raise money. Okay, there's an interesting report by, I think it was Coffee Break, that a lot of companies in Malaysia back in 2023 that mentioned they are using a lot of money to do deleveraging, which is to pay off debt. So we will also talk about the utilization of proceeds today, when we are assessing an IPO, right? We'll use the case study, we'll talk about the company, we also will talk a bit about how do you assess an IPO, whether it's viable or not, right? So when a company is going for solely deleveraging, which means paying off debt, it means that the company previously have a lot of loan, and then they take your money, they pay off the loan. So is that viable? Is really up to you. But to me, if they are taking the money to expand, then it's quite reasonable for me, right? And in some cases, the prior investors or the founders of the company, they might want to exit, right? In ACE market, that is not usually not the case because we have a moratorium. Usually you wouldn't see that the ACE market, they will dilute their shareholding more than 65% or 70%, around that range. Normally, the founding team or the initial shareholders, they will keep a 70% stake. But in main market, there could be some mega investors like PE firm like what we call the legendary investor Bramau. So a couple of cases, Mr. DIY, Farm Fresh, sorry, Farm Fresh probably not, but CTOS. If you look at the offer for sale, which is also a topic we discuss later on, of CTOS, is quite substantial actually. So that means that the previous shareholder that owns CTOS, they have a lot of shareholding that offer for sale for the market, right? So there's a case of exit, but not usually for this market, it's not really the case. Okay, so before we go into IPO, just a quick overview of what happened back in 2023 IPO market. As at 2nd January 2024, there are approximately 32 IPOs in Bursa Malaysia back in 2023. Okay, and then most of them are ACE market, and 7 companies are in the main market. 1 company is in the lead market. So for those who are unaware, basically lead market is only prepared for high net worth investor, or what we call sophisticated investor. That means that you need to declare yourself as someone that is wealthy, and you bear your own risk because the liquidity for lead market is basically nil. Basically, it's nothing. There's not a lot of liquidity in the lead market. So yeah, although Bursa and SC, they are doing something for the transfer guideline, but the demand for lead market now is still a bit lacking, right? So only 1 company in last year, right? When the year begins, 2023, there is an initial target of 39 IPOs back in 2023. Sorry, I don't know whether, I think a bit of bug on the wording. So initially there were 39 IPOs targeted, and a total of 7 companies actually fall below IPO price on the first day closing. So I hope to break the myth that people tell you that IPO confirm can earn money. So no, nothing as guaranteed. I also want to raise the awareness of everyone. There is a scam case back in 2023 where there were individuals that came out to the market and mentioned that okay, I can guarantee you can get this IPO. Normally it's a very well accepted IPO, let's say Opstar, or maybe take for example like Opstar, S&P Tech last time. They offer you a guarantee that you can take the IPO, and whenever you see there's a banking to a third party individual, please be careful, it's 99% is a scam, right? So if it's a proper placement from the bank, they will ask you to bank into the investment bank, right? So let me quickly take you through the overview of 2023 IPO, how their performance are, right? Okay, here we go. Apologies if it's a bit small, the wording. So this is actually a statistics by Bursa Malaysia website. and you can see what are the companies that went listed, their name and how much they raised, and their listing price and how are their first day performance, right? So you can see their performance after that day after as well. And there's an interesting part, which is the advisor or underwriter. So unconventional way of assessing an IPO, you can, I don't want to name which one, but if you go and look at the 2022, 2023 IPO consultant, there are actually a few consultant that their IPO has not fall below their first day IPO price. So that means that their first day price is always higher than their IPO price. A couple of advisors, so you can check it out on who they are. It's quite interesting. So I'm not saying that forward guarantee that these advisors, their upcoming IPO definitely will let you earn some money, but there's a good chance to boost your chances in winning, right? So there are also advisors that sometimes their IPO is not so performing. Again, I don't want to name who. So you can always take the data and trace it back. But that one advisor is just a small part of the whole overview of how do we assess IPO and the IPOs that we are talking later on. And yeah, we'll talk a bit about the advisor later on if you guys are interested. Right. So let me get back to the slides. So what do you really need to know about IPO? So a lot of people that I came across, they told me that what do I need to know about IPO? It doesn't care lah, because like I said just now, there are actually 7 companies that first day their share price dropped below their IPO price. So as an IPO investor, that means that the money you put in instantly is gone. Not gone for all, but you experience losses instantly. There's no chance for you to exit. If you're lucky, probably it opened higher, you escape, and subsequently it closed lower at the day, right? But definitely you need to know what business the company is doing, right? It's not doing something funny. Of course, Bursa, they won't allow funny companies to go for listing. They do a lot of due diligence, but oftentimes, if you don't understand the business well enough, there are companies back in 2023, after they went listed, their business prospect turns bad, right? For a company to go listing, definitely whatever they paint is rosy. That one is for sure, right? If not, you will never see a prospectus telling you that our business upcoming is going to be negative, right? Nothing, they won't show you something like that, right? So you have to be careful and you need to understand whether the business makes sense or not. Especially when it's a cyclical company. Okay. And after you understand what is the company doing, is it construction? Is it technology based? Or is it some manufacturing? Some interesting? Are they services industry? So you need to understand what they are doing. And most importantly, how are they performing financially? Normally, you will see a growth trend for their IPO period. So you need to mix both together. Okay, in what sense? So when you are when you're studying the financials of any company, not just IPO, you need to know that one important thing, that however they perform historically might not repeat. Okay, so you need to use the past financial data as a benchmark. Yes, you need to see how they perform for the past 3 financial years normally, but you need to combine with the factor number 1. You know what business they're doing, see whether their prospects are good. Okay, so there are times that things doesn't make sense. For example, like the general industry, they are showing slowdown, but this company, they tell you that they are performing better next year. But you know that the industry as a whole is doing not well. So either there are something is special about this company, or a company, most likely than not, based on my observation for the past few years IPO, they will follow suit with the market general performance. Okay, and number 3, you need to understand why are these companies they going for listing and how do they actually use the money. Okay, so we mentioned just now there are usually 2 factors where a company go for public. In US, a lot of cases there are exit cases, where the situation is a bit different. But back locally, for Bursa Malaysia, normally they are coming for expansion, right? And interestingly, I think it was last year, for companies that are going for ACE market listing, they actually need to go through Bursa only and not SC. But if you're going for the main board, definitely you need the note from SC itself, right? But we see a lot of ACE market listing this year, which interestingly IVF, the company we are talking about, they are going for ACE market. I will explain a bit why is it so interesting. They have 60 million profit after tax, if I'm not mistaken, 60 million or 40 something, I think it's 40 something million profit after tax. So the requirement for profit for main market companies is that the past 3 years, you need to have 20 million accumulated profit after tax. But for IVF, the company, they have 40 million plus in one single financial year, yet they go for ACE market listing. So it's a very interesting scenario. I do not know why, but probably we can discuss a bit more later on. So cycling back to the factor, why are they going for listing? You need to understand. And how are they going to use the money? Okay, does it make sense? So the bank borrowing, paying off bank borrowings, we just mentioned, it doesn't really always shows a bad sign that the company is using your money to pay off the debt. Okay, if they are buying raw material, they're using bank financing to buy raw material to pay their subcontractor, to pay their supplier, whatever, then they're on debt. And if you provide your money to the company, I'm not saying it's guaranteed not good, but basically they're using your money to run their day-to-day business, right? But if they are taking your money to build a new factory, then there is a good chance that there is growth prospect from the company. Again, subject to the market supply and demand. Maybe they build a new factory, but the demand goes down, right? It's also bad for the company in that sense that you have a new factory, that means that your fixed costs increase, utilities, your labor, and also depreciation. So everything increase. If you do not have the demand for cope for it, then you might be in a bit of trouble. Your cost increase, but your revenue might not increase so much to cover the increased expenses. So again, everything has to be in synergy when you're assessing any IPO, right? And then someone jokingly told me that if you buy IPO that is below 20 cent or 50 cent, 30 cent, there's a very good chance that the IPO will go up because it's too low to go any lower. I think you need to look at the valuation of the company IPO. It's also a bit tricky that sometimes if you see the prospectus, sometimes they have two valuation. They have a forward or analyzed PE in some cases, and they have a historical PE. So you need to make sense of both to see whether is it justified or not, or is the forward PE of the company is too inflated. There are also cases that if you look at the current PE of this company, wow, 20 times are very expensive, right? And this actually, their forward PE is actually quite low, or it will be substantially lower. Maybe from 20, they drop to 15 or drop to 12 and they have subsequent growth. Then is 20 justified? The answer is yes. But if you have companies that have a low single digit PE, let's say 4 times going for listing, but you know for sure in the upcoming financial year, their profit is going to drop, then the valuation probably doesn't really justify unless you really like the company so much. And perhaps post listing, you might have a chance to, buying them at a cheaper level. Okay, so again, back to the awareness part. Again, no such thing as guaranteed win, and also, please do not fall victim again to the cases where ask you to bank into their personal account or non-investment bank account. Right? There are a lot of scams in Malaysia ongoing. They have a lot of way. We have tried to warn people that don't download app and whatever, but it seems like there's a newer which is done by local personnel that they will fake a letter from the investment bank to ask you to bank into a dedicated account, which is not the investment bank itself, so sketchy enough. So be careful with that. Okay, and how do we know what companies are going public? Again, this is for beginner. For those who are in the market long enough, please bear me for a while. Obviously, if you go to Bursa website or if you go to IPO Investor website, they actually have the whenever a company launches their prospectus, you can discuss about the company at the forum already, right? So you have Bursa Malaysia website and you have prospectus exposure. So what does prospectus exposure mean? In my understanding, it's basically a draft. Okay, so it's a draft they submitted, but they will add on additional information inside that. For example, they will increase the data of financials. So let's say they cover until last financial year, probably they add another couple more months that FPE. Okay, that one is for prospectus exposure. So for their business model, for their what are they going to do with the money? Of course, they will not show you the amount they'll be raising, because no valuation equals to you don't know how much you're going to raise based on the prospectus exposure, right? So impossible that you can show a breakdown. But I always go to Bursa or okay, this is for main market. Again, as I mentioned just now, for ACE market, you just need Bursa approval. For main market, you need Bursa and SC approval. Okay, so for prospectus exposure for ACE market, you can always check on Bursa website. And for SC, for the main market one, you can check on the SC website. So how do you get access? Very simple. Just type in prospectus exposure, Bursa or SC, then you can get access to. You can read the prospectus earlier, and you might be having an advantage than other people, right? Especially if the company, there's one scenario where I'm interested in a already listed company, but I do not understand that well because the company has been listed for quite some time. So I'm going to read the prospectus of another company that is going for listing, which is the peer, and I could get a better understanding as well. So reading prospectus exposure doesn't really only help you on IPO, but your day-to-day investment, it helps as well, right? Okay, so we are going to talk about the 5 companies if you have time, probably 6, including Prolintas. Again, a quick disclaimer that no buy or sell call, is just sharing of my personal view and everything. Okay, so the first one, Leader Energy. Leader Energy, I think if they were going to listing, their asset base is probably going to be larger than a lot of energy companies. In terms of IPP means not independent power producer. It's not Tenaga level, but in terms of individual level, I think they are larger than Solvest, larger than Samaiden, larger than Sunview, larger than I think even larger than MFCB for their what we call hydropower plant, Donweng, if I'm not mistaken, and is also larger than Saipak, Leader Energy. So it's quite a substantial IPO that a lot of people are looking forward. The reason being is that if you look at the performance of SolarWest, Samaiden, Sunview, generally post-listing, they are performing quite well. But again, subject to the valuation. So SolarWest, Samaiden, generally they're having a PE anywhere between 20 to 30 on good times. So if in a scenario where Leader Energy, they're going for listing already at 25 times. So yes, there could be upside, but again, it's already benchmarking the already listed companies. So you might need to think about it, whether you can get access, you can get direct access to those already listed one, or you're interested in this one. For Leader Energy, definitely they have the advantage of being very large, and they also not only doing renewable energy. Okay, we look into the prospectus exposure of this company because it's still a draft, but it's not really fully completed yet. Okay. Yeah, again, it's expected to be the largest IPP to be listed in Malaysia, if I'm not mistaken. So revenue is close to 1 billion. It's FYE 2022 for those who realize, because it's a exposure that done, I think, in June last year, where they listed the prospectus exposure. So when they come out with the latest prospectus, it will include, most likely will include FYE 2023 full year results. So we can have a better access to the company financial performance. Okay. And again, in prospectus exposure, we do not know what valuation they will be having. Okay, so we still need to wait a bit until they have the actual prospectus out. But we can still have a look on the company itself first, right? There's a question that Malakoff. Okay, let's have a look at their financials asset, right? So I do not know the asset base for Malakoff, but perhaps we can see it over here. Okay, I will enlarge it so our friends can see. Okay. Basically, their business model for Leader Energy, they build, own, and also operate power generation plants and solar PV plants, which are quite common, especially if you study the SSPV large scale solar programs in Malaysia. It's basically the one of the main contributor to why the solar companies are performing so well in Malaysia, right? And also they built some power transmission asset. This is a bit similar to Pastec and CNI, commercial and industry solar business. That means that if you look at a lot of factories now, their rooftop, they have the solar panel, and they also have built their own power generation asset and rent to their customer. That means that they fund it. Also EPCC services. Okay, so unlike the companies in Malaysia, they have quite a wide range of coverage. If you look here, okay, for non-IE, they have a coal-fired plant, and solar Malaysia and Vietnam. For information, the radiation hours, that means that the hours that the solar panel Malaysia can accept is generally 4 hours plus in Kedah region, which is the Bukit Kayu Hitam region. That's the best radiation hours that we can get in Malaysia. So I think that's the same for Thailand as well. So that's why you will see the solar panel, generally they focus on the northern region. And for hydro, I think recent years we do not really see large hydro projects in Malaysia itself, except for a company which suffered living down unfortunately today, which is Gentayu. So they have Telekosang 1 and 2, I think it's completed, and they have a large project that's coming up. I forget how much is the megawatt peak again, but I think it's quite substantial for their hydropower plant in Sabah Sarawak region. So that one is also interesting if they could run it. Okay, and solar C&I project. So you can see that they have a lot of exposure to basically Asian regions. Okay, so again, this is the prospectus exposure I got from SC website. So yeah, you can see over here, Leader Energy, MKH. So previously, these companies, if you're interested, you can read it here also. Okay, so then we have a breakdown of the business model for the company. And over here, back to the question of Malakoff, are they larger than Malakoff? So you can see, normally I will see NGC, net installed capacity generated capacity. So this is how much of this coal-fired plant actually generated for the period. Okay, so this is the uptime. How let's say for 24 hours, how many hours that the plant operated, or whatever shift they have. Generally speaking, it's 24 hours. So for non-RE, they have 237 megawatt. This is already quite substantial, even in Malaysia. And I think there's another non-RE player in Malaysia, but I couldn't recall the name. Quite a lot of followers. Very interesting company. I couldn't recall the name. And then you can see that they have 70% effective ownership in some of this hydro plant in Vietnam region. So this is the net generated capacity. This one is the gross installed capacity of what is the megawatt peak, right? So availability normally is 90% each, unless there are some issue or some major maintenance or things like that, right? So the solar power plants, 275.1 megawatt. So it's quite substantial, even if you compare to Malaysian companies. Okay, this is the more other wholly owned power plants, another 49 over here. Okay, this is for commercial. Commercial, I think this is their completed projects, right? So yeah, basically this is the prospectus exposure for the Leader Energy. showcasing what kind of assets that they have. Okay, and next we can also look at the financial performance. So okay, just a moment. Let me go to their financial numbers. Okay, so here are the financial numbers up to financial year 2022, and I'm sure when their prospectus is going to be released, you can see FY 2023 results, or at least FP until September. The profit, generally speaking, for solar companies, they have two models. Usually, number one is EPCC, which is contract based. That means that I get a new contract to build solar farm or hydropower plant or whatever power generating asset. Then this one is on contract basis. It's like construction progress claim. Secondly is that I own the asset and then I sign a PPA, power purchase agreement, back to whatever party. So for Leader Energy, I think they sign with the National Energy Company in Cambodia as well. So they sell the electricity back to them. That one, they usually have a recurring revenue base. So that is why normally this kind of company that have a PPA, they have a higher valuation, is because they have more predictable income going forward, right? Predictive is very important for a lot of investors. So here are the financial results for Leader Energy. Of course, if you look over here, their gearing are higher than what companies you see, normal companies you see higher than 1, because they need to gear up in order to build the assets. So a lot of people will think that this is risky because I have a lot of borrowing. What if you couldn't pay back the loan, then you will default. But normally, if you build a solar farm or hydro asset, unless you're really unlucky that you fall into major maintenance, loss of revenue, otherwise they have a certain payback period. It's generally for solar, if I'm not mistaken. If you're a solar expert here, please correct me if I'm wrong. 7 to 10 years. For hydro, depending on the river flow rate, it could be shorter. Okay, so they could clear off, but again, in order to grow, they need to take the money and start to build another assets. So yeah, this kind of company, generally speaking, their gearing ratio will be higher. So again, we have mentioned a couple of things when we go and assess the IPO, right? Next one should be utilization of proceeds, but unfortunately now we couldn't really see because they do not have an IPO price yet. So effectively we see a dot over here, so we don't know when their how much they will put into each respective. So over here we can see that Leader Energy, they will be acquiring brownfield project. In layman terms, brownfield is something already built, they go and buy. So they go and develop greenfield, which is something new. So also repayment of borrowings, again, you need to check these borrowings is used for their expansion previously. So it's like I haven't raised money, so I go and borrow something first, right? For the, which you can see over here, right? For the acquisition of one asset. So they use the IPO proceed to pay back. For me, this is quite okay. And payment of other loan, I don't know what loan. And also working capital. Normally, you will see in IPO that they need to have some capital for rolling basis. As a rule of thumb, if working capital is more than 25 to 30%, I will be quite alerted. Why you need so much money as working capital when you go in for listing? Okay. So let me go back to my slides. Okay, next one we have, this one is an interesting case. I know that because CPO price are not really in favor, cyclical company, but for MKH investors, because I happen to stumble onto MKH oil palm prospectus exposure, I go and study. So I get to know MKH, which if you are MKH Group Berhad, if I'm not mistaken the name, let me see. Okay, so if you are MKH investor, you can get MKHOP shares for free. I'll talk a bit about this later on. So MKHOP, interestingly, they are involved in palm oil plantation and also basically cultivation, and also of course processing into fresh fruit branch, which is the raw fruit from the palm oil trees, to CPO, which is the oil, and also palm kernel, which is the seed. Interestingly, all their assets are based in is Kalimantan, Indonesia, instead of Malaysia, in which Indonesia is the largest exporter of palm oil globally, right? So it's also, this case is also a spin-off from MKH Group Berhad. So if you are an investor for MKH Group, if I am not mistaken, you can actually get, if you have 70,000 shares of MKH, you can get 1 free shares for MKH OP, right? I forget 6 or 7, but basically you can get the shares of the company for free. So if you're invested in MKH, so not really you need to buy into the IPO. It's a bit like the IGB CR, IGB commercial REIT spin-off case, right? So let's go into their prospectus exposure. Okay, just a moment. Yeah, 7 for 1. Thank you for helping me out. Okay, I'm back to MKHP. So you can see that the main business, cultivation of palm oil, sometimes they have a very interesting picture. I'm sure it's somewhere down the prospectus, but the description of their business is very straightforward. I'm sure everyone knows it's basically plant palm oil, production, CPO, PK, and sell. So how does the economy affect the company is very simple as well. Is basically that CPO price increase, then they are doing better. And also this year, El Nino effect is coming. So the production for palm oil and a lot of, I wouldn't say crops, I forget the proper term for it. A lot of plantation companies might be impacted in terms of production. Now, this is the interesting part. So the revenue is derived from sales volume times the selling price. But when the selling volume is lower, you will expect a lower revenue. But in this case, when the production is lower, then the price might be better. So whether it's a good thing or bad thing, we will need to observe how bad is the El Nino. I was a lot of research papers saying it was quite bad, but we'll see whether the CPO prices, I think it's still maintaining 3,000 something. And you can see over here, again, it's just like normal prospectus, how many land area, how much planted, and everything. Okay, so this is where their planted, their assets are. Okay, their plantation estates, to be exact, is in East Kalimantan. Okay, so a lot of info over here as well. So you can look at the age profile, the immature basically haven't started producing. Young mature or going into prime mature generally is the best yielding plantation because it's lower for the tree is lower for the workers to go and harvest, right? If it's higher, you take more effort to harvest as well. Of course, if you have lackluster of workers also, so you do not have enough people to harvest, so they ripe, and of course it will be spoiled after some time. So young mature age is, for information only, is quite golden period in what we call. Okay, so these are all the information. Now I want to add on a bit on to MKH OP's prospectus exposure for those who are interested in studying IPO, especially. So what do I also look into when I look into the prospectus? It's basically the IMR report. So, okay, sorry, over. Okay, so if you do not understand the industry, going into the IMR report is basically the best thing you can do because they will tell you the overall industry overview. So if you do not understand the industry at all, let's say you are fresh to the capital market, you're fresh to Malaysia Bursa market, you do not know what are normally the plantations companies are doing. Most of them are palm oil, by the way. So you can see over here, what does upstream do, what does midstream do, downstream processing, and also the end user base on basically the bakery products, soaps, and detergents. Okay. Truth to be told, normally I rarely would see there's a negative KEGA report talking about the industry, okay, for obvious reasons. But it also gives you a very good overview on whether the industry, how does it actually perform, right? And also sometimes IMR does provide the forecast for the overall industry, which is quite good, quite useful. You can see Indonesia, world largest producer for 2022, and how much is the production and the landscape of competitive landscape for that industry as well. So I think it's a very good source of information for you guys as well. Okay, so again, another thing you should look into, because of time constraint, I think I'll move into the last three companies quicker. You need to look at the valuation for the company as well. Very simple. There are a lot of CPO related companies, plantation companies in Malaysia, and you can compare their valuation. It's very straightforward. Normally, generally speaking, because of the cyclical nature for plantation companies, their PE is usually single digit, because you never know when it's going up and down. And dividend yield normally is beyond 4%. That is the more reasonable range, because in return for unstable kind of income, so yeah, sometimes you will get a what we call dividend yield in return for plantation companies in Malaysia. Okay, so let me go back to the slide quickly. Okay, next one is actually one of my favorite IPO in 2024. Why I will show you later on. They have a revenue base of 100 million. If you look at the companies in Bursa, any construction company, any developers, they could have over billion in revenue. But the PAT is 43 million, which is crazy to me. That means that 1 ringgit go into the company, so net whatever they earn is 43 cents. So it's quite crazy in terms of this kind of margin. You don't really see this kind of margin in Malaysia. It's probably the highest in healthcare. Okay, so now just now I mentioned IVF company. Let's look into their prospectus exposure. Sorry, a lot of tabs has been opening. Okay, so what they do for those who are married, or you are thinking of having kids, or you're exposed to more advanced having what we call child culture. So IVF is basically from my layman view, is that you can have a genetic selection for your kids, and also people that have difficulties getting pregnant. Okay, so it's basically what they call is assisted reproductive services. It's very interesting business, and the margin is also crazy for this company. Okay, so you can see that this is their revenue base, mostly IVF, assisted reproductive services. So we can have a look at their financial performance. Okay, let me have a quick. Sorry for the. Okay, here you go. For FPE, which is not even a full year, 9 months, because they ended in May. So this is February. So you have March, April, and also May left. So the PAT is 43. Yeah, the profit after tax margin is probably one of the highest I've ever seen in the closer year. But of course, is there any one-off reason causing this? Because they have been doing 25 or 23, so we have to investigate further. That one I'll leave it to you. And I want to raise the attention where you can see that the company is doing 43 million in profit after tax. So for main market, normally the company requirements 500 million in market cap post listing. Okay, assuming a 10 times PE for this company, which it will be impossible for this kind of margin to go 10 times PE. Assuming a 10 times PE for this company, so the market cap is already close to 500. Yet they are also going to the ACE market, which is very interesting. So what this would cost, based on my understanding, again, this is something extra, you could ignore if you want, is that some of the funds, they have a certain thing called mandate that they could not invest in ACE market companies unless there's a special approval or something. So the fund interest or the fund exposure for this company at the initial stage might be lower, but I'm pretty sure within 6-12 months of them listing, they will be automatically transferred to the main board based on the latest automatic transfer mechanism. So which requires 1 billion market cap, if I'm not mistaken. So the company definitely can hit this figure. So IVF, this company, I'm having a wild guess their PE is going to be 25 or 30 based on DCFK. Of course, it's a different company at all, right? So one is aesthetic, one is something very, very technical. So very interesting to see this company going listing. So I think this is the company everyone should have a look at for this year. Again, not asking you to buy, just have a look on it and see how it performs, right? Okay, so let me also quickly trying to speed things up. Okay. Okay, actually Group Berhad, their prospectus already launched. I'll quickly go through here because you can already see the prospectus. I also written, unfortunately for English reader here, because my platform is mainly Mandarin based, so I've written about the company in English, in Mandarin. But if you have questions, you can PM me in English. So they are doing electrical distribution system business. So they are exposure to semiconductor, healthcare, and also indirect exposure to EV because they are doing something called electro copper foil for EV batteries. So it's a very interesting company. They have a order book that's larger than their last financial year's revenue. Also, the management of the company has in public mentioned that they will go into data center. Now, if you look at a lot of stocks that have exposure to data center, MN Holding, Southern Cable, and another company that can do cabling business, which is Sarah Cable. Of course, for cabling business, they have a larger, like TNB or the government, they have a lot of capex plan, so they will be benefited. But data center, if you look at HG Group, again, their prospectus utilization, their IPO process utilization, they are going to have a branch in Johor. And if you take a look at where the data centers are recently being built, it's in Johor. So the company, very likely, they will be going aggressively into data center. They also signed a supply contract with Vertiv. I believe it's not, although it's not exclusive, but it's still a good exposure to data center side. Right. So if you look at the PE, there's two PE mentioned in the prospectus, if I'm not wrong. So one PE is the historical performance, which is close to 20. But if you take the FPE 2023, which is 9 months, the forward PE, the annualized PE is around 11 times. So yeah, I think it's quite okay. If you look at critical holdings, recently the performance has been quite substantial. For your information, the broad group description for HG Group and CHB is actually called MEP, mechanical, electrical, and also process utilities. So CHB is involved in the mechanical part, and HG Group is in the electrical part. It's about bringing electricity from those power plant to the industrial plants like semiconductor manufacturing plant. Okay, so this is their business model. Okay, and tomorrow is a closing application. Listing date is on the 30th of January 2024. Okay, another interesting company, which is I want to talk about this company is because if you look into prior to CPU holding, which is a rare case that we have a precision engineering or metal fabricator company go for listing and they drop below IPO price is quite rare. If you look at SFP and UWC, generally they have very good performance post listing. Even Coraza, I think they have a decent performance as well. So Wentel, although they are doing some things like this different semi-finished parts, okay, they have exposure to not sorry, I think it's not appropriate that I mention aerospace, but instead the travel space because they do the when you go, let's say if you go into airport, when you are going overseas or whatever, you put your bag into a conveyor that scan through, right? So these are the products of Wentel or their products of their customer, but they metal fabricate the parts to supply to their customer. Okay, so after you pass the bag to the conveyor belt, the personal security over there, they will ask you to walk forward over a metal detector. The metal detector is the one that Wentel fully assembly. So yeah, with a lot of this what we call travel opening, they could be benefited. But again, I have to mention that this kind of product, they are quite rigid. So the life cycle, I think, is anywhere between 5 years now. It's not so easy for them to keep replacing as well. So they have exposure to semiconductor as well, and also medical, if not mistaken. And if you look at their margin, profit margin recently has been quite improving for a bit. So hopefully they can get more exposure into semicon and continuously improve their margin up to 30%, like SFP Tech and UWC. Okay, and they have very aggressive expansion plan. If you look into their prospectus, their utilization rate for their plants are 60 to 70%, but they are building another plant for expansion. It's mainly because of space constraint. So yeah, very interesting. But I believe if they would have that kind of capacity, there is a good potential that they might secure some contract in the future. We do not know yet. It's not in prospectus because they have no order book. Okay, so this company closing application is in January 2024. 22nd January 2024. Listing is on the 6th of February 2024. Okay, now before we end and go into Q&A, very quick one. Do you want to know how to increase your win rate when you subscribe for IPO? Comment below if you want to know more. I quickly share and then and we can go into sharing how to increase your win rate. Okay. Okay, I'm getting ready to share. Okay, I don't see win coming yet. Is everyone so lucky that you don't need additional boosting of chances? Okay, never mind. I'll still quickly go through for the sake of everyone. Okay, this is critical holdings. Normally a company after the IPO, going IPO, they will have an announcement that tells you how many times we are oversubscribed, right? For critical, it's quite crazy actually. For public, 88 times. So for public portion, specifically 97 times. Quite crazy in my opinion. Okay, so you can actually benchmark the success rate. Of course, the more, generally speaking, the more money you have, the higher rate you can get. But if you look at the, what we call, the allotment of shares, right? So that means that if you subscribe for 3,000 to 5,900, it doesn't matter. You still get 2,000 units. If you subscribe 20,000 to 49,900, it doesn't matter. You still get 4,000 units. Okay, and the success rate is actually quite similar. But again, 1% increase is also quite important. Okay, unless you're a very lucky person. So let's say for critical holding, I want to increase my odds. Instead, let's say if I have the money, I'm buying 300,000 units of share. Actually, you don't have to put in 300,000 units. Just put in 200,000 plus something, and you will be in the same band anyway. You will still get 8,000. It doesn't matter you put in 200,000 units to subscribe or 499,000. Still the same. You get 8,000 units of share. So cost of capital, if you have GX Bank or whatever digital bank that you have, they have a daily invested interest. It's compounded annually, but every day if you put in the money, you get interest. So it's also a form of risk and return. So if you put in additionally that things that you money that you do not need, but you still put in anyway. So I think it's a waste of 3% return per annum for that chunk of money. So just look into the Bursa announcement and you can check the tiers. Of course, a tip for you guys, don't put exactly the same as last one because every time it will be different. Okay, every single time it will be different. So normally I will put an extra 10,000 shares for threshold. So for example, this time I saw 50,000 to 99,000. So I'll put 60,000 to be safe. So I know I'm in this band. My success rate is maybe 11-12%, depending on how high is the demand for IPO. Okay, so there's something that could save your capital and also probably increase your odds, because sometimes you just put in another 10-20,000, then you get another 5% increase in your odds. So why not? Okay, Okay, that's all for my presentation. I think we can move into the Q&A now. Jesse, will you be taking all the questions, or I can look into the chat?
Yeah, I will continue for the session. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so thank you, Max, for your sharing just now. I see some question in the chat box. If you have more questions for Max, feel free to ask in the chat box as we will start our Q&A very soon. And remember to log into your MQ ID so that you can interact with us through the chat box. For non-MQ members, you can get free access to this system by opening a trading account with selected advertiser shown on the screen. If you are interested, you can type 5 in the chat box or scan the QR code and submit your contact details. The respective team will guide you on the next step later. Just want to wait a minute, I forget to share my screen. Okay, sorry. For non-MQ members, you can get free access to this system by opening a trading account with selected advertisers shown on the screen. If you're interested, you can type 5 in the chat box or scan the QR code and submit your contact details. Our respective team will guide you on the next step later. Just want to highlight for today only, you can get extra 500 MQ points when you open a trading account with our advertiser. Okay, so we will be having Eventual Traders Cup 2024 in the near future. So if you are interested, you can sign up for a TA Securities account first. Then after the competition is confirmed, we will send you the updates and you can start trading by using the account. So if you're interested to open account, you can scan the QR code here. And then next, for MQ members, you can get a bonus of 300 MQ points as check-in rewards. The step to get this reward is very simple. You just need to screenshot any part of this webinar, find our quiz email inside your email inbox after the webinar ends, complete the quiz and upload your screenshot to get the 300 MQ points. Remember, you will need to register for the webinar in order to receive the email after the webinar ends. You can scan the QR code here to register if you haven't registered for it. Next, we will have Q&A session followed by mysterious gift session. Remember to stay with us until the end of the webinar. So let's start our Q&A session. So Max, we have a viewer named Zihan asking what are the red flags that you think investors should notice and avoid the IPO?
Okay, again, for this, I think I don't want to name any example. But if you can see the company is pouring a lot of IPO raise proceeds into working capital or paying back debt, especially the debt is only for working capital purposes. So that's usually something that wouldn't interest me. And then secondly is that the company, they have a very good earnings prior, but their FPE or their forecast is not so attractive. It's not a red flag, but something that I wouldn't really trigger my interest to look into the company. What else is the cash flow for the company? Because for ACE market listing, the company operating cash flow, net operating cash flow can be negative. So you need to look into the cash flow as well. So also I will also look into the RPT, related party transaction. That is another red flag for me if there's too many related party transaction. So yeah, these are some of the things that you need to careful when looking into an IPO.
Okay, thanks for clearing the air. The next question is from Lee Yu Tiam. The question is MKHOP IPO. MKHOP, when will be the listing date? Do you have any information regarding existing MKH shareholder?
MKH, okay, I'm not sure about the MKH shareholder, what does that mean part, but I think they have gathered interest for the last 1 or 2 months. So I would presume their listing is not too far away. Maybe in April latest, but it's for a wild guess. It could be anytime if there's any delay for the IPO. And then for the shareholder of MKH, yes, based on if there's no amendment to the announcement, yes, for MKH existing shareholder, you'll be getting free shares of MKHOP. 7,000 unit equal to 10,000 unit of MKHOP. But again, if you were to how do you call? If you were to get the MKHOP shares, your share price for MKH will also adjust. It's just like dividend, it will still adjust. So on theoretical terms, this is free, but it is only free on the basis of MKH go back to the adjusted price prior. So yeah, you can get it free, but price will for MKH will still adjust.
Okay, I believe Max has answered your question. So we proceed to the third question from Wong Yi Hon. Please comment on Metal Tech Group Berhad.
Yeah, MasterTech, I think their IPO valuation is 20 times, but if you look at a lot of interviews by the management of the company, they are quite confident in terms of their future growth. So if you look at Sarawak Cable, and Southern Cable, and also what we call the Central Cable, which is going to be acquired by KUB Malaysia Berhad. So these companies, they recently gotten a lot of spotlight because they got exposure into, like I say, TNB and also government. They have a lot of large infrastructure project to require cabling, and also, sorry, for cabling business, you can also venture into data center. But data center from connecting the power plant to data center, and also the internal part of it, which is the specialized cable. Not all the company does it. So yeah, I think MasterTech probably they will see growth afterwards, but with 20 times listing valuation, I think it's interesting to observe how they perform post IPO when they listed.
Okay, thanks for your explanation. So next is another question from Muhammad Irwan. Does fund IPO give the same debut performance as companies?
I'm not sure what this fund IPO means, unfortunately. I think, okay, there are some funds like pre-IPO funds. That means that you invest into the pre-IPO stage, and after that, when they go listing, probably the fund will liquidate it. I think RHB, they have one fund, but if you pre-IPO and special situation fund, RHB, it's very high risk, is included in private equity, but you have a lot of risk associated. I've seen a lot of cases that companies saying that they are in pre-IPO stage, which means that the last round they raise fund before they go IPO, that it fails. There are many occasions as such because you do not know. It's not only looking at profit. Going listing, there are a lot of things to consider, including whether you have proper certification, your business is actually approved by Bursa, and a lot of documentation. Because of a lot of businessmen, they earn a lot of money, but their company might not be properly documented. So generally speaking, the timeline for an IPO for a fresh company, that is a lot of things to be done, is 5 years. Let's say if you buy into Maybank, the return is 6.5% in terms of dividend yield excluding capital gain. So for 5 years, it's 30%. If it fails and the buyback agreement did not execute for pre-IPO cases, so it will be a very tricky situation for you. So fund IPO, generally speaking, might not give you the same debut performance because fund, they have a couple of IPOs together, and IPO is isolated basis. That means that I buy this IPO, then this is the IPO exposure I will get.
Okay, thanks for your explanation. Next, another question from Victor CH. What is the most important factor to consider when IPO counter will outperform on the first day?
I think all the factors I mentioned just now, business model, the fundamental, and utilization of proceeds, the valuation of the company, and also the one I mentioned at the very beginning of this webinar, which you can track on the performance of the first day closing price of the IPO and who are the advisor. So I don't know why this situation persists, but in fact there are a lot of cases where there are really some advisors that have outperformed results. But again, historical performance doesn't guarantee future performance. You can take it as a benchmark. So ultimately, the worst case scenario, if it drops below first day IPO price, as long as it's a fundamental solid company, if I'm not mistaken, Synergy actually drops below IPO for the first day, but subsequently, because of their strong performance, they went up a lot. I think for investors, even if you go in an IPO and you hold along the way, I think you have more than 100% return for Synergy case. So yeah, assess the fundamentals of the company.
All right. Then we proceed to another question from Zihan. How would underwriter impact the IPO itself? Seems like some particular underwriter IPO performs better.
Yeah, that one we have answered just now. We already covered.
Okay. Then the last question from TCY. Should we invest in low PE IPOs? Like TSA IPO valuation is very low. Goodbye.
Okay, again, it's a very tricky situation. Yes, TSA, their IPO valuation is relatively lower if you look compared to the IPOs that I think they launched their prospectus in 26 or 27 of December 2023. And the PE valuation for the company that go listed is, if I'm not mistaken, is the lowest for 2023. But again, the company is a commodity-based company. It's a metal-related company, so stainless steel company. So you need to look at the macro factors of the overall basis, and they have FPE data, which you can refer as well, and also their future prospects. They are going to set up a stainless steel cold rolling plant upcoming. So it's up to you to see whether it's justified the valuation for the company to have a stainless steel cold roll steel plant. I think it's the first stainless steel cold roll steel plant in Malaysia. So see whether it justifies or it doesn't for TSA.
Okay. Thanks, Max, for your insightful session that sums up our session today about the potential companies we can monitor and invest in. I believe all of us here have learned a lot today from Max. Now we will be moving on to our mysterious gift session. In this mysterious gift session, we will be showing question and answer option on screen. You just need to send out the answer that you think is correct. We will be giving out gift to the first two person that answer each question correctly. To get ready, remember to log into your MQID so that you can send in your answer using the chat box. If you have won in this session before, we will automatically pass the chance to another person so that everyone gets the chance. So, ready? We will start now. The first question, generally speaking, is it true that IPOs are guaranteed to make profit to the investor that subscribe to it? All right, the answer is no. So please send us your name, mobile number, and email address via the Google form here. You can find the link in our chat box as well. I will pause here for the winner to submit their details to us. The winner is Wei-Sian Chiu and Sharudin Abu Bakar. Okay, so we move on to another one. The second question, how can an investor best use the past financial information of an IPO company? All right, I will reveal the answer now. The answer is D. All right, please send us your name, mobile number, and email address so that we can arrange the mysterious gift to you. All right, then I proceed to the last one. How many IPOs in total for Malaysia in 2023? Okay, the answer is C. So I hope everyone got the answer correct. For the winners, please submit your details using the Google form below. The winner is Chong Hui and Chia Yun Weng. All right. Thank you for your participation in the mysterious gift session. Here is the quick reminder. Don't miss out our CNY campaign to win attractive gift and rewards before 22nd of January. You can scan the QR code here to know more. You can also scan the QR code here if you are interested to the eventual Traders Cup in 2024. It will send you updates when the competition has more updates. Lastly, remember to like and follow us on our social media so that you won't miss out our updates. Once again, a very big thank you to all of you who have participated in our webinar today. Thank you for staying through. Hope you learned something today. I will turn off the camera. The webinar will be live for a few minutes so that you can refer to the links in the chat box before it is gone. Once again, thank you for making this webinar a success. I'm Jessie from MQ Trader. I wish you a great week ahead. Good night.
Thanks for watching.